The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Welcome back to the Forever Fab podcast and part 2 of my interview with Dr. Tamara McMillan. Now, Dr. Tamara, you lecture about creativity, about leadership, about being the baddest crayon in the box, but you also speak about, disruption. Now, what does it mean exactly to be a disruptive leader? Because when I hear the word disruption, I think, we're going away from normal, or we're causing drama, or, this is not so good. But you seem to embrace disruption and ask people to incorporate it in their rise to magnificence. So what exactly do you mean by being a disruptive leader?
That's beautiful. Being a disruptive leader is calling institutions, agencies, family members, even thyself out on the feelings or encroaching on my personhood. Disruption means I am not going along to get along anymore. Disruption means I'm going to do all that is necessary to protect my mind, body, and spirit, even if it means that you so-called don't want to be friends with me. Disruption is taking a hard, objective look at the relationships that you are carrying and assessing them appropriately. And if they have served their purpose, you are releasing them into the universe, but with love. Disruption means I am no longer defending systems, people, and any aspect of life that does not afford me, allow me, or want me to be my brilliant self. Disruptions mean walking away from jobs, whether you're quitting, resigning, moving on to another department. It means leaving abusive relationships, situations and scenarios that when you walk away, you feel less than. When you walk into rooms and when you walk into connections and outings with individuals, if you go in on a 7, you shouldn't leave on a 2 or a 5. You should leave at least where you were when you walked in or higher. So it's the assessment of what is around us and how is it fueling me so that my light stays on. We're all energy.
Yes.
And in order for us to be able to be seen, right? Because you have your light on, Dr. Shirley, you were able to see my light. When we are not in disruptive, but we're in defense mode, when we're in reactive mode, we see people's shadow because we can't see ourselves.
Very interesting. So being disruptive is actually being a contrarian to what we think we should be or what other people tell us to be. It is also about protecting ourselves, honoring our temple, showing up for ourselves, being ourselves, and not only along a career path, but also in relationship to ourselves and in relationship with others. Would you agree?
I 159% agree, even though we know it's only 100%. Absolutely. Because when we're able to first honor thyself, when we're able to see ourselves fully, then there was this one saying, we must inform, show, tell individuals how to treat us. But if we are, remember you asked the question about language, and we talked about that in part 1.
Yes.
If we are not cognizant of the language that we're using on self, we're sending a message that it's okay for you to talk to me like that as well. It's okay for you to treat me like that as well. Disruption is holding it up and saying, hey, I see you. Every time we seem to get together, I'm always championing and I'm always supporting and I'm always clapping for you. But the moment I share my dreams, my hopes, this new podcast, I just found this dope chick named Dr. Shirley. I was on her podcast and this is going to be amazing. And it's crickets. No one's listening. No one is supporting. No one is sharing, but the tables are turned and they called upon Dr. Shirley and Tamara to help them, to stand in the gap for them and clap for them. That's having a difficult conversation with people that we love and still taking the forward movement to release them into the universe. Because Erica already told us, girl, you're going to miss your bus carrying your bags.
Absolutely. So it does involve some level of reciprocity, because I believe as women, as young girls, as women of color in particular, we are groomed or even taught to just do, give of yourself, help. But don't expect anything back. Do not expect anything back. You don't need anything back. Don't ask for it. Just do, give, pour out of yourself. But you don't need anything. You're good. So at what point do we refill our cups? Do we have to constantly do it for ourselves? Or can we reach out, right? In support of ourselves, can we reach out and say, thank you so very much. I'm glad, whatever I helped you with worked out. Can you help me with this?
I think it's important. And that's where the tribe comes in. We talked about, the importance of having a dope tribe, having, dope women around you that see you and not your shadow. And a lot of times, if you're around the right people, you won't even have to ask. They're raising their hands. The other thing, too, is if we're constantly finding that we're constantly giving, we're pouring into other individuals, we're going to the church function, we're baking the cookies for the kids, we're dropping Miss Sadie off at, a knitting class, we're doing all of these things for everyone else. And then the moment it comes time for that reciprocity, again, they're crickets. That's when we begin to assess, again, the environment and begin having a hard conversation saying, hey, I'm always available. I've been here. And every time I ask for support, you're either asleep, you're going on a trip, you're unavailable, something's happened to your car. You know what I mean? You're getting ready to go out with your husband. There's always a story.
Oh, God.
That is, again, we talked about it. That's your indicator that something is off. And when it is off, we have to be honest about when it's off and who it's off with, as opposed to what? Looking in the mirror and saying, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I got it wrong. Absolutely, you didn't get it wrong, girl. Step into it, be the disruptor. And some individuals, listen, this is the thing I say. We're doing all of this respectability politics to be seen as the good girl, to be seen as the nice friend, to be seen as an individual who is inviting and warm and caring and kind. So we won't be talked about. Girl, they're going to talk about you anyway. Just start the conversation. Just start the conversation yourself.
That's
Just
right.
Start the conversation your damn self. There it is.
That's right. You may as well be the fire starter. I mean, after all, there's going to be a flicker. There's going to be a flame. You may as well light the match.
Come on, say that. Exactly my point. That's disruption. And then when you begin standing up for yourself, there's someone behind you looking and saying, wow, did you see the way Dr. Shirley did it? And she didn't even cuss. She didn't even get mad. She just said what she needed to say. And she sashayed off into the other room, right?
A little twirl around the room.
With a little twirl, a little sprinkle, a little pizzazz. And I think we owe that not only to ourselves, but for the women who are watching this, because there are women that are watching this, women that are our age, younger than us, our nieces, our goddaughters, women that we're coming in contact through wonderful experiences like this. It is our responsibility to honor thyself. Thyself, thou must know.
Absolutely. And in honoring ourselves, you mentioned finding your tribe, finding that
Yeah.
space or the environment or the community that would be supportive, but not only supportive, but also tell you, a little bit about you, calling you out, making you accountable. So
Girl.
tell me about your tribe, EmpowerMee.
Yes. So it is the Be Bold tribe, and our tagline is "We can be bold together." And there are, we operate in cohorts, right? So I love intimacy. I love being able to understand everybody's kind of goal, wish, or challenges, be able to put my arm around the community. But the core community, there are 7 or 8 of us, to include myself. We've been going strong since the pandemic, because I started it when we were in the pandemic. And I'm like, hey, we need to be doing something, supporting one another. And when I tell you, these are some amazing women. As a matter of fact, one of them is presenting right now. So the baddest crane in the box invitation, because I wasn't able to do it. Guess what we do as supporters of one another, collaborators. One of the other women in the tribe is now facilitating that conversation.
Brilliant.
Like, how dope is that? Because
that is
what we're not doing, Dr. Shirley, we're not scrapping for one another's spaces, because we've done the work on thyself. We know each and every one of us come with our own brilliance, our own preferences, and where we get energy. And in those places that we don't, where we have low energy or low preference, we have one another to fill it out. So we meet twice a month on the first and the third Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we help one another. We see you, we support you, but we do it with love and compassion. And we're one another's SOP. We're the standard operating procedures, because we defer judgment. We've been judged too much for the littlest things in society, for everything, culture, education, media, and we don't do that to one another. We support one another. We love up on one another. We support one another's events. And as individuals are moving through these experiences, we get to help them navigate that. One of the other members just had her first in-person event. So she came to the meeting, and what did we do, Dr. Shirley? Kind of like what you do with your team. We said, okay, where's your agenda? We went through her Eventbrite. We read it. We suggested where there could possibly be gaps, how to make it stronger, using hashtags for SEO purposes. We went through, her agenda. We went through the activity. We talked about her survey, her post survey. We talked about the follow-up. We get to do that with some dope other women, because everyone doesn't have the same lens and or perspective.
Right.
And this is your own mastermind group. This is your mastermind group where you get to say, you know what, I'm thinking about this. I'm ready. I'm needing to write the second book. I'm needing to do X. Let's go through it. And that's some of the things that we do through that, using creativity, ideation, problem solving as well. And then I do one-on-one consulting as well. I call it conduicy. And when I realized, it was funny, I was having a conversation with my innovation coach, and I said, one of the things I realized when we're talking about vulnerability and we're talking about the new world for women, we don't want to admit, rightfully so, and I get it, that we are feeling like I'm an imposter.
Yeah.
We don't want individuals to know we're lacking in confidence. We don't want individuals to know that we're suffering in silence. And I think one of the things that I do really, really well, in addition to seeing and supporting women, is how they say, the dog whisperer, I'm the secret keeper. So I keep the secrets for these CEO, these executive women who are finding themselves in very compromising positions and feeling out of sorts with their life, whether it's personally or professionally. And they come to me as their conduit, moving them from one space to the next, and helping them work through it and keeping their secret. Is so funny. Like, I'll see some of them out there, be like, hey, no one will ever know that they work with me. And then I realized, hey, that's part of, your differentiating factor, girl.
Yes. That's yet another one of your superpowers.
Yeah. So, but that's a little bit about the tribe.
That's a very special gift. Thank you for sharing about that. And so is this a tribe that anyone can join, EmpowerMee? And anyone join online?
Yes, ma'am. So they would go to the website, EmpowerMee.com. Me is with
Perfect.
2 E's.
Yes, it is.
And what we would do is we accept, again, the applications. And it's not an application like you're trying to get a credit for something. We
Right.
just really want the space to be for women who understand the importance of this. We say, Dr. Shirley, we're not for every woman, right? Like, you're not for every woman. Clearly, you know,
That's
the
for sure.
board, they wasn't for you and you wasn't for them.
Right.
We're not for every woman because we're not here to convince, cajole, or change your mind. We
Right.
want the dope woman. We want the open woman. We want the woman who recognizes and realizes that having a supportive tribe, a sisterhood, a place to be your authentic self is needed for what's next in your life.
Absolutely.
We can't do this alone. Accountability is important. There's a statistic. It reads that 98% of our success is tethered to who's in our tribe, who's in your ear, right? Because whoever has your ear has your life.
Yes.
Yes. So they would go. And then I think our next, so, you know, the summer, no one's doing anything in the summer. And that's the other thing, you know, when it's warmer outside, you know, people are vacationing, you know, people kind of forget, right? It's easy to mask the pain. And that's one of the other things that I find in this work with the one-on-one scenarios. It's hard, Dr. Shirley.
Yes,
because
it is. It's hard out here for a pimp.
Baby, okay? Baby. But like Jay-Z said, if we don't reveal, we can't heal. If we don't reveal, we can't heal. Yes. And it is unfortunately easy to go undetected.
Yes.
And it's easy for women to say, okay, I'm all right now.
That's right.
And then, everything falls apart and, I need somebody. Right. And then something happens that swings them to the other pendulum. And there it is. But knowing thyself is the key to all things. We can be successful in different aspects of life. However, I believe that we can't really have the enormous amount of success. We can't really be steeped in our full genius where people are seeing us fully if we haven't, again, dealt with the triggers. We haven't dealt with those things that might be holding us back. The imposter syndrome, lack of self-confidence, self-esteem, the vulnerability, lack thereof, saying, I have some women, I don't fool with women. Y'all too catty, y'all too this. I'm like, who have you been around? Now, there's some women who have been, but I'm like, maybe because you haven't elevated your circle, you haven't let some people go into the universe with love, boo-boo, because the contract has been fulfilled. That's why you feel the way that you feel. I have some of the dopest relationships with women.
Yes.
That started with my mom, right? So those are some of the things that I would say when we're thinking about, you know, the importance of honoring ourselves. The other thing too is we find the investment in self, because it is an investment. It's not a cost language.
That's right.
We will invest. We will pay for anything else. We get bundles, bags, red bottoms. We going to that concert. We going to the Essence Fest. We're going to be clean, baby.
Yes.
We're going to be clean. But the inside is just as raggedy. It's torn. It's in pain. It's in so much turmoil.
Yes.
No one can see your inside. That's the difference with this. And it's hard work. And
it is hard work. I mean, it's easy to hide, right? It's easy to hide. It actually sometimes feels more comfortable to hide. And when I was going through my stuff and the pandemic came, there was a part of me that was just like, oh my God, you know, what's going on? This is crazy. But then there was a small part of me that was just like, oh, good. I don't have to show myself. And there is a very famous quote, and is it a Marianne Williamson quote about, you know, don't be afraid to shine your light? It's either Marianne Williamson or Nelson Mandela.
It is. It's Marianne Williamson.
Don't be afraid. That's right. Who are you not? You owe it to the world to shine your light.
Absolutely. Because when you shine your light, you give somebody else the permission to do the same.
Absolutely. And I do believe that that is the beautiful work that you are doing. And I'm so grateful for the work that you do and for being here on this podcast. Now, the work that you're doing must have led you to become an accomplished author. So what is your book Liberation about? besides
So
obviously liberation.
yes. Liberation Now, the 5 steps to begin realizing your dreams was again another way for it was my love letter to me. Think about, you remember when we were young and the guy that we were interested in, we would
Yes.
write love letters.
Yes. I wrote poetry.
Exactly. They're poetic, but how many times you, I, or your audience have written love letters to thyself? We forget ourselves. So Liberation Now was one, my love letter to myself, but it was also a way for me to kind of distill down like 5 major steps that really supported me in the work that I had to do on me to make no sense. And then me moving into the space of knowing. I went from knowing to doing to being. I'm exacting me. And I wanted to share that book. So these 5 steps, and of course, there were more than that, but these 5 steps were really, really critical. First one being to make no sense. If you don't know who you are, then how do you ever share your brilliance and your light with the world?
Yes.
The other thing is then when you are able to understand who you are, then you can begin changing the narrative, the mindset that we talked about. You can deal with you with compassion and love. And then that is also a way for you to move toward this notion of changing your relationship with failure and doing that by being resilient. Resilience looking like, okay, I didn't get it right this first time, but what did I learn about me? What did I learn about the process? And then how do I put it back out into the world so then that way I can learn again? And then understanding that time is our most important resource. It isn't money, it's time, because it's the best way we can pay compliment to one another.
Agreed, 100%. Oh my gosh, Dr. Tamara, this has been amazing. Amazing. And to
no, you are amazing. This is so great. Like I could do this all day.
You and I are going to be besties.
It's already done. Shorty says, listen, already. I'm like, hey girl, hey, you ready to go on this trip? Let's go. Let's get these streets. Let's get these streets.
Well, the signature question of the Forever Fab podcast is called the Fab 5. And I know you have a Fab 5 yourself, in your liberation book. But the Forever Fab 5 asks this question. What are your top 5 recommendations for living a beautiful, fabulous, empowered, baddest crayon in the box life? And I'm going to write these down.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. I am ready.
Right. The first one is thyself thou must know. Love you unapologetically. You don't need permission from anyone. Pick your damn self.
And number 2.
Because oftentimes, right, we're looking for permission. So number 2, get yourself a dope tribe. Align yourself with other amazing women. And there are some men too as well. I'm not going to exclude the men. Have a dope tribe.
Yes.
The third thing I would say is change your perspective on failure. If you're not failing, you're not doing anything worth mentioning. If you're not doing anything worth mentioning, you're probably not standing on the edge. Change your perspective on failure.
Love it.
So the other one, the fourth is do something once a year that scares you to death. Like go on an international trip, go on a trip by yourself. Like this has to be something big, ladies.
Yes.
Now, if it's going to be smaller, then I say do something once a month that scares you. But do something at least once a month that scares you. It could be asking the guy that's new in the office out on a date.
Yes.
That could be stepping out and getting your EIN number so you can start the business. Do something that scares you because you want to let the universe know that your life is real.
Okay, that's right.
And then to the last one, speaking of mindset.
Yes.
Before you do anything in the morning, take care of you.
Yes.
Before you look at the phone, before you turn the TV on, before your kids are looking for you, the husband is looking for you, get up and have 15, at minimum 15 minutes to yourself to feed you, whether it be your mantra, you can read your favorite Bible verse, listen to your favorite song, journal, find time to be with you and feed the essence of your beauty.
Gosh, that was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so very much, Dr. Tamara McMillan, for your time, your expertise, your beauty, your light.
Thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for accepting your calling and moving away from the comfort and creating this platform for these wonderful exchanges, because individuals need you and your light and what you offer to us. And I am over the moon. I really am. Reaching out and saying, hey, I'm a fan, like this kind of, girl crush kind of thing. And you never know what you're going to get, but that's the beauty of being okay with failing. Some individuals, it's like, no, and I'm not for everybody, like you're not for everybody. And I love that you're for me because I'm for you.
Thank you so very, very much, Dr. Tamara Wilson. This brings us to the close of this week's episode of the Forever Fab podcast with my fantabulous guest, Dr. Tamara McMillan. Do you want liberation? Purchase Dr. McMillan's book, Liberation Now, 5 Steps to Begin Realizing Your Dreams, available on Amazon.com. And listen to this. Dr. McMillan also has a podcast. Tune in to She Disrupts. Find it on Spotify and on her YouTube channel, EmpowerMee. That's EmpowerMee, M-E-E. And speaking of empowerment, check out Dr. McMillan's YouTube channel or visit EmpowerMee.com. We can be bold together. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode. Until next time, stay beautiful and forever fabulous, inside and out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.